on the plane.
Okay, so this is let's say artificial version of talisman.
Okay.
So the talisman is a natural one they collect from the sea and all that.
Okay.
But this is artificially created to represent that. But the color black represents African people.
Okay.
And the golden ornament in it just represent the abundant resources that we are blessed with by God.
Am I seeing a Dinkra symbol or something in there? Do any designs there?
Yeah, so this is also one of the Dinkra symbol, but as we are seeing it now, is the symbol of the sun with a circle around it, and it talks about the omnipotent and omnipresent.
Well, that looks kind of like a cultic symbol.
No. So it has no spiritual connotation.
All right. Ashasi says none of these have any spiritual connotation. It's purely African
cultural symbolic,
fused with modern, innovations, right? The digital world and all that. That's interesting, right? Quite an interesting cause. What problem do you want to solve?
I saw some few things that really don't click with our culture and what we are being taught in school.
Okay.
And there's a lack of authentic African history studies. The term tradition is an old custom and unchanging practice.
Okay.
But the world evolves. And so when somebody defines you as a traditional person and you accept it, you agree not to evolve.
Hey, welcome to Solution Ghana, and today we are starting new episodes altogether. And this time around, I want to tease your mind because we're talking about an African initiative that is called the Songs of Proverbs. Songs of Proverbs. But it's on Solution Ghana because the person who is starting this is right here in Ghana. We are proud of him. This is a very inspiring concept. But I want to tease your mind a bit. How much do you know about your idioms and proverbs as far as the Ghana culture is concerned, or even in Africa in general? How much do you know? Well, I know some of you know about the Shakespearean sayings. One of them that has to do with what? There is no ask to find the mind's construction in the face, right? Most literature students know how to quote that. And we can go to Abraham Lincoln or Roosevelt, some of the presidents of USA's quotes. One of them that has to do with we can walk slowly, but definitely will not walk backwards. That was by Roosevelt, right? And some inspiring quotes out there. But how much do you know about African Ghanaian quotes, proverbs, idioms? How much do you know about them? Well, it's exciting to know that there are a few popular ones, for instance, that probably you might have heard, but you never knew that it was an African proverb. Let's take one, for instance, that says that a tree does not make a forest. Do you know it's a Ghanaian proverb? Do you know that one? Well, what about it's an Egyptian proverb that says the voice of the people is the voice of God? And so many other proverbs and wise sayings in the African culture that is scattered all over the place, but we have somebody who is bringing them together and creating a modern feel, modern structure and system with it so that it shall become indelible in our current culture, in our current existing space. All right, so we are here to talk about it, and we want to talk about the Songs of Proverbs as he has named it. And his name is Nana Kwame Ashasi. I am Vocal Brown, and just stay tuned and enjoy the ride. Nana Kwame Ashasi, welcome to the studios.
Thank you very much.
Yes, where from that? Because I know you as Augustine.
Yeah, so I knew you are going to ask this question. So formerly I was called Augustine Kwame Boateng, and most of my previous document bear that name. But it comes to a time where you have a calling or a mission to fulfill, and that requires a change of name. And so I changed the name.
So the calling and mission to fulfill leads you to a whole change of name.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That looks like a very passionate call then.
Very passionate.
Wow.
And so I changed the name to Nana Kwame Ashasi, which is the Akan word Ashasi for a new beginning.
Okay.
And like you rightly introduced, you made mention of a couple of Western proverbs, which a lot of Africans, fortunately or unfortunately, are conversant with these Western proverbs. But let me also tease our audience. How many of you know Chinua Achebe, the author of Things Fall Apart, who says, until the lions have their own historians, tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. How many of you know?
That sounds very, You
see, so we are here
inspiring.
As part of Songs of Proverbs and all that. It is an initiative for us to tell our story from our own perspective, create our own narrative to counter Western narratives that are mostly negative in terms of impact on us.
Well, that's I think it's a very inspiring initiative. But let's get into what really inspired you to want to do this. What problem do you want to solve? What did you see? What was a gap you saw that you want to fill?
Yeah, so I think after my tertiary education, which I did it outside the country, I saw some few things that really don't click with our culture and what we are being taught in school.
Okay.
And there's a lack of authentic African history studies. So most of the studies we do in school are Western perspective, because every history or every story has two perspectives. And depending on where you are standing and how you narrate it. But if you are brought up with a knowledge of the other side of history, you begin to find yourself missing in all things, in the past and the present and even the future, because you need a past and then as a foundation to project to the future. If you don't find yourself in the past, it means you don't have a past. How do you project yourself into the future? So I began self-deduction in the authentic African history that were never taught in school. So I bought myself books written by Sheikh Anta Diop and co. And I began reading all these books and I realized there's a disconnect in what I've been brought up with and what I'm learning now. You made mention of a proverb which you attributed to Egypt. Now, without authentic African history, somebody would think Egyptians are the current inhabitants over there, which are the Arabs.
Okay.
But ancient Egyptians are Africans like you and I.
Yeah.
The artifacts are there to speak the truth. The statues are still there to speak the truth and all that. So these are some of the things that inspired me to embark on a mission that is going to put us on a trajectory where we can narrate our own story from our own perspective.
That's inspiring. By the way, I'm getting curious about what you're wearing. Before we go on, do they have any connotations, spiritual connotations to that traditional? What do they represent?
Yes, so they don't have any spiritual connotation, and I wouldn't call it traditional.
Okay.
I am a bit reserved with the term traditional because if you don't use it appropriately, it goes to affect you. The term tradition is an old custom, an unchanging practice.
Okay.
But the world evolves. And so when somebody defines you as a traditional person and you accept it, you agree not to evolve.
Interesting.
The moment you evolve, then you become a Westerner or a dynamic person. But that shouldn't be the case because culture is dynamic. So we could have traditional practices, but you don't have to define yourself as a traditional person.
Okay.
So I don't associate any of this to the term, like I explained, tradition.
Okay.
Or spiritual connotation.
But they mean some things, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at the round, circular.
Yes.
Where does it
so, though the official name is Nana Kwame Ashasi, I go by the nickname Gen Z King. And Gen Z King is an embodiment of the old and the the present.
Okay.
The embodiment of our ancient wisdom and modern science and technology.
Okay.
So as you can see, I'm wearing a smart glasses. I'm wearing a smart watch.
Okay.
I'm wearing a bracelet infused with African ornaments.
Okay.
And then the necklace is also an African cultural ornament. So this dressing is a combination of the past and the future, which is creating the bridge.
Wow, that's interesting. So what do these symbols mean, actually, what you're wearing?
Okay, so this is let's say artificial version of talisman.
Okay.
So the talisman is a natural one they collect from the sea and all that.
Okay.
But this is artificially created to represent that. But the color black represents African people.
Okay.
And the golden ornament in it just represent the abundant resources that we are blessed with by God.
Am I seeing a Dinkra symbol or something in there? Do any designs there?
Yeah, so this is also one of the Dinkra symbol, but as we are seeing it now, is the symbol of the sun with a circle around it, and it talks about the omnipotent and omnipresent.
Well, that looks kind of like a cultic symbol.
No. So it has no spiritual connotation.
All right. Ashasi says none of these have any spiritual connotation. It's purely African
cultural symbolic,
fused with modern, innovations, right? The digital world and all that. That's interesting, right? Quite an interesting concept. But let's get back to the Songs of Proverbs. What are you about?
Okay, so
and in which form is it going to come?
Yes, Songs of Proverbs is the inaugural project of Ashasi Cultural Foundation, which is the broader mission I'm embarking on. But this is going to be like the wheel upon which the foundation will ride on.
Okay.
And so it is more than just a collection of lyrics. It is a melodic bridge of the past wisdom and present sound.
Okay.
So I pick proverbs across the African continent. I attribute the origins. I give explanations and all that. And I use that as inspiration to create lyrics.
Wow.
With the help of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So you are looking at musics that are created with the inspiration of African proverbs. And they are holistic to be listened to by kids, the young ones, the youths, and even the elderly. They are devoid of any profanity and all that.
Wow. I think it's a very smart way of redirecting our Gen Z, for instance, to what was and what was quality and substantial through the Songs of Proverbs. But how tedious has this been over the years? When did you start all this?
So I started somewhere latter parts of last year, began compiling the proverbs, and then started creating the musics down. And
how many proverbs do you think, or you assess you have gathered so far?
Yeah, so in my library now I have 100 proverbs, but we are talking about thousands of proverbs on the continent that I intend to bring it to life.
Yeah.
It can be in any form. Yeah. But currently in music form, I have 50 tracks that are all inspired each by a proverb.
Okay. We're going to play some for you to have a better idea of what we're talking about. That's great work. I listened to a few of the tracks and I was like, wow, this is great. This needs all the attention and needs all the support that we can give it for it to grow. Because I think that lyrics these days, parents are becoming a bit concerned about the moral aspect of it. Some inspired our younger generation into social vices and things like that. And we want to see this as a great opportunity to help our young ones, the youth coming up, to listen to wise sayings, right?
From the dust the hooves kick up, a shadow on the plain. I feel the sun, I know the rain. I live despite the pain. You hear the cheer, you see the spear, a hero's proud display. But you don't hear the silent prayer the hunted breathe each day. This land you call a battlefield, to me it's home and bone. A story written in the scars my family has known. But until the lions have their own historians, till our roar becomes the pen that writes the truth for all to see.
Do you consider the spiritual or traditional background of these sayings? Is it only Ghanaian, or it's all across Africa?
Yes, so it cuts across Africa. And when we talk about whether there is any spiritual connotation or probably traditional connotation and all that, I would say no, because most of our stories and history and even the proverbs were in oral forms. And so it is not written down for you to be able to know the authors and the origin precisely. So if you can't know the author, definitely you cannot associate with any spiritual background, because an author could be from any spiritual or religious background. But you will be able to identify the origin, as in the country or the tribe or from which people this proverb is coming from.
You state it in your...
I state it. So aside the songs, I have a book which is called Songs of Proverbs book, which contains all the lyrics, the origin of the proverbs, and the meaning of each proverb.
Are you selling them?
They are not out yet. So
will you sell them?
I wouldn't say sell them, but I'm going to use it to raise more funds to push the project. So anybody can get some with a token to support the project.
That's interesting. So how far are you going to go with this project? TV stations, radio, schools?
Yeah. Currently, I am having a little bit of constraint when it comes to funds. So I'm going to adopt the social media way. The songs are ready. The book is ready. Anybody can buy and learn the lyrics and sing along with the songs. But I'm going to create a dancing and singing challenge. And that is going to target the youths. And like you said, currently with the kind of music being channeled and the youth listening to it and vibing with it and all that, you could be dancing to a song, but the lyrics, are you proud to sing the lyrics in front of your parents or the elderly? Most no. So even though you want to adapt the proverbs in such a way that it resonates with the youth, and you know the youth mostly resonate with singing and dancing, and you don't want to create songs that are also boring too much. You want to create a sort of contemporary high life that bridges the past and the future, songs that can be danced with.
Well, some of the songs I listen to, it's like it has some pop feel. It has, these soft rock feel, some of them.
Blues, jazz, everything chipping.
It's interesting. Well, I know we stem from a place where you're saying that you want to infuse modernity with culture, right? Where do we draw the line? Aren't we scared that we're going to lose out when it comes to, let's say, doing a totally African feel, as in it's hip life? It comes with a hip life and totally hip life feel. What argument would you make for the Western feel, merging with the African thing? What would you say about that?
Yeah, so like I said, culture is dynamic. And if you really want to make an impact or send a message across that will be well received, it is not about what you want per se. It is about how you can really persuade your target. And so going by the authentic original form of high life, which mostly is not danceable by the new generation.
Okay.
Because high life has its own dance and the elderly resonate with it. But you want to transfer that from the elderly to the youth. And so you need to blend a bit of pop culture and still maintaining the same message you are sending across, which is the Proverbs.
So the focus is the message.
The message.
The focus is the message transcending that.
But you need attention with the modern melodic style.
Okay. That's going to be interesting to note. For instance, I'm looking forward to seeing you, seeing how you would be able to transcend it down, because that's where the work is.
Yeah.
The structure and the system you want to use. Some are going to be translated into dances. Is it going to be a show-based system you're going to create for people to identify with? Is it going to be a competition you're going to, create among the schools? And I'm just trying to see how you're going to the modus operandi. Getting it down.
So it has to be, and it's going to be a blend of all. There's going to be a show on it, and there's going to be a competition. And a competition which is singing and dance challenge. Within it, there's going to be proverbial challenge. Where any participant, you are not just dancing or singing the proverbs. You must memorize these proverbs. You must know their meaning, the origin and all that, and bring it out. And there has to be incentive and motivation for the youth to now pick it up and begin to use it in their daily lives. Because none of this proverb, I would say, has expired in terms of its modern relevance. All the lessons these proverbs teaches are still relevant today and are going to be relevant into the future.
A few of them that you remember.
Yes, so I made mention of Chinua Achebe. It's one of my favorites because like I did self-deduction and transition from the Western-oriented history that I was taught with to the authentic one, which I taught myself. If you don't learn to narrate your story, if you don't learn to tell your own story that resonate with your past and present, somebody's going to tell it. And the person is going to tell it in his own interest, which will not have a positive impact in your life.
Wholesome impact, okay.
And that proverb is, until the lions learn to tell their own story, tales of the hunts will always glorify the hunter. So each time the hunter goes back and does his hunting adventure and comes home, the story the hunter will tell his wife and nephews and children is going to be something that he will be proud of. But what if he
will be biased?
Yes, it's going to be biased. But who knows when he went there? What fight did the lions put on? No, he's not going to tell the side of the lions.
So such a proverb carries lessons.
Yes.
What are lessons within this particular proverb you would want the generation or target audience to learn, to have? How should it shape their thinking, for instance?
Okay, so we live in times where Western perspective of Africa is always negative. A Western private content creator will come to Africa and would deliberately bypass all the good things, all the things that we can be proud of, and selectively create content on things that put us in a position where we are always kind of second-class humans or citizens. Now, in these modern times, you cannot do away with social media, mass media, and all that. There are few others who are projecting the positive image of Africa. You can talk about Wademaya and the rest. And this is going far. You see, so they are telling the story from our own perspective. And like I said, still relevant. So if we don't learn to now project what we have.
And you're also doing your bit on the proverbial side.
Which
is quite unique.
For example, if a Westerner will come and project that idea of capitalism, now it has its pros and cons. Africans are more oriented towards the social aspect, the humanity side of things. So if you don't project your value, the family value, the love for humanity, the love for nature to the world, you are going to have nothing to project. And because you are hearing from that aspect, you will be persuaded to leave what you have and go for that one. And I'm telling you, people travel. Yes, shape your thinking. People travel from outside to
your loyalty to your nation and Africa.
To Africa, from all the noise, from all the pressure and stress, and they come and find peace in Africa. The tranquility that we have in Africa, the connection we still have with nature. It is nowhere to be found out there. And so this is what we have. It is up to us to promote it and project it for the world. So that whilst they have something to sell, we also have something to sell.
That's great. Well, I wish you well in this project, and I pray that it goes very far as it can go, actually. But do you have any other ideas apart from the Songs of Proverbs as far as African cultural initiative is concerned?
Yeah, so the bigger project I have would require a bit of financial support, and so I'm kind of using the Songs of Proverbs as a catapult to that financial measures. But the main one is preservation of African languages. And as well as creating a new African language.
Creating a new African language. Well, we're not going to go there today. That might be on another episode. That is going to take us far away from the Songs of Proverbs. All right. I'm getting excited already about this one. Let's not talk about it. But it's just good to know that you have all these in your vision. And I think that you're somebody worth investing in. Hey, if you have what it takes, you think you want to align to him, you want to support. And I'm sure that there are some of you out there that, have, spades of these, purpose in you. It's something you want to do to preserve African culture, the good ones. I don't believe that everything about African culture should be preserved, but these are good ones that are worth preserving. If you have what it takes to support in any way, hey, you are welcome. Reach out to us, and we'll reach out to Nana Kwame Ashasi, and we see how we can collaborate and partner to make sure that this vision is manifested. Right? Are you a Christian?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. I'm kind of like teasing you on that, because you're a Christian and you're promoting the African culture. As far as Songs of Proverbs is concerned, Christianity and some notions about distancing themselves from African culture and all that. What makes you a believer in the Christian faith and still, so much passionate about African culture? Are there any lines you draw?
Yes, there are so many lines I draw, and there are times that I face a friction in terms of being a Christian, as well as what I know about African culture. And it is even part of the mission, because if you are a Christian from a Western perspective, you would find African culture as an opposition to being a Christian. But when you really learn and understand African culture, you would find yourself within your faith. And so before I came to the knowledge of the authentic African history and all that, you would probably think the faith that you are practicing is a Western faith. It's just a repackage of things. And so you can read.
But is a Christian faith necessarily a Western faith? I don't want us to go so much into, that might be a whole topic on its own. You may want to say that some or most see it as a Western thing. Right? But Christian faith, I believe that it's more holistic. It's even beyond the Western culture. I think the Western world, until the 4th, 5th century, they didn't know much about the Christian faith.
Yeah.
They also got to know about it. It was oriented to it. They got to know. So, well, maybe that notion too could be debated in other lights here and there.
Yeah.
But maybe we don't going to go so much into that. But I think what we want to establish is that being Christian does not mean that you should get yourself away or distance yourself from upholding African culture, because there are very valuable, substantial elements in it that is even rooted of the Bible, inspired of biblical scriptures and sayings.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think you've rightly said it, and like it's debatable. But what I'm trying to put across is that you made mention of the faith is holistic, yet the faith is let's say spread by humans.
Yes.
And so when the human aspect, the human bias comes in, you will see a faith that is packaged in the image of the messenger. So when you don't know or understand your culture or the authentic one, you would find yourself having a culture that you feel is isolated and somehow opposing to the faith. But I have gotten to a stage where I can discern what is culturally influenced aspect of the faith and the pure faith.
Okay. All right. So, viewers, you're listening to Nana Kwame Ashasi. His name is newly adopted, gazetted, and that is off what we usually know of him, actually. So, do you have a passport that bears Nana Ashasi and not Auguste Guama?
Okay, so the current passport bears Nana Kwame Ashasi.
Okay.
My kids' passport bears Nana Kwame Ashasi.
Okay, so it's a total switch.
A total switch.
Wow.
The Ghana card bears Nana Kwame, and almost everything, with the exception of probably academic documents that have already been issued in the name of Augustine Kwame Boateng.
Okay.
Apart from that, anything from since it was gazetted going forward is going to bear the name Nana Kwame Ashasi.
Okay. Do you hope to physically go from country to country beyond Ghana to establish your vision?
Yes. So Ghana is just a starting point. Obviously, I'm a Ghanaian.
Yeah.
But of what use is an African initiative when it doesn't reach the African continent? And if possible, telling our own narrative shouldn't just be within us. It has to go beyond the African continent.
Well, viewers, this is where we come to the end of this episode, and I know that you have enjoyed it. The African Initiative, Songs of Proverbs. It is time to focus on substantial, relevant proverbs that have been birthed by our forefathers who have been inspired by wisdom and have laid down certain foundations. I'm sure that these channels, like Nana Kwame Ashasi would project, will become one of the most relevant channels and important channels for us to preserve our African proverbs. So I am actually all for it, and I pray that our viewers are all for it as well. Let's support it. Let's help it to grow. Well, thanks so much for coming to the studios.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I'm trying to get used to the name and not Auguste Guama. And may God help you and refine the vision holistically into his own purpose. God bless you.
Okay.
And God support you for what you're doing. And thank you viewers for being with us. It's been Vocal Brown and it's been Solution Ghana. See you another time.